Hello everyone. Although this story I'm going to tell you is funny, but it's a true story that actually happened to me some years ago when I first started seriously seeking God. Um, when you first start seeking God, there is also an expectation because we all have read about that amazing guy in India who could walk on fire and that guy who could, I don't know, float on the air, or people being able to time travel and space travel and all of that. So because of that, because we have read and seen examples of that, there's always an expectation. We kind of associate that with the path to God, that when you step in it, for some people that's the ultimate goal, to be able to fly and walk on water. And also, not only it's an ultimate goal, but it's the desire, a hidden desire and hidden expectations of many to be able to experience it for themselves. So I was the same. I remember those first few months of me after my dream. I was reading some book. Suddenly I smelled this very, very beautiful aroma. It's a very nice scent of perfume, and I was alone in the living room. There was nobody who could spray it, and I was like, oh, this is what the mystics talk about, that when you really train yourself and kill your ego, the nose of your soul opens up and you find traces. You can smell the scent of heaven. And on another occasion, once I was sleeping in my room, and suddenly the room started lighting up, and I was like, oh, maybe this is some lightning from God, although this has a hint of joke, but you get what I mean. So later I realized that that scent that I described was coming from my hair, because I had changed my shampoo. I wasn't used to the smell, and because the AC was on, it was blowing this scent to me, so it was nothing godly. I got this there and I got disappointed there. And the lightning, I realized, came from my phone that had some kind of alarm that came on every 2 seconds I wasn't aware of. But the thing is, there is a very famous mystic called Khwaja Abdullah Ansari, which says, if you fly in the air, you're nothing but a fly. If you walk on water, you're nothing but a fish. Be his servant to be worthy of him, to be worthy of mention. And that is true when you think about it. Today, magicians do that too. Today there are equipments that help you do that. You don't need to have wings to fly. You can, I know you have to go through the customs and the checking and all that, but you get to fly, something that many people for many centuries never got to do. You get to dive into the ocean, the deep part of the ocean. Even if you're an ordinary person, to some extent you can experience things that humanity was dying to experience. And it is very unfortunate to boil God and that majesty of him and the beauties of this path, boil it down to these little things. I know people who sell their whole life. They travel to India, where they think mysticism is there, because the word mysticism has this, it implies some mystery, something supernatural. So they fly there, because of associating God with those supernatural events, the first person they see who is walking on fire or doing all these acts, which are so many in India and they're so abundant, they say, oh, there you go, so I am in the right place, that's the right person, and he's going to teach me to be able to become a mystic, which in their mind means somebody who can also do those acts. But the funny thing is, Irfan or mysticism, Irfan in Arabic means knowledge, simply knowledge. It doesn't mean, it has nothing to do with any mystery, any revelation, any kind of dream, nothing like that. And yes, there are godly dreams, there are godly revelations. I don't want to deny them. There were holy people who could do all of those things that I just mentioned, but there are two signs of whether it's from God or from Shaitan, or simply it is an act of practice. Just like we have physical laws, we have also unseen, invisible laws. Just like the law of gravity applies to all, the law of the unseen applies to all too. So if you find some codes, if you can decode some words to say or some things to do, you will have some sort of powers that other people don't care about or don't have time or don't dare to do. You do it, you become amazing in their eye. So those people who are godly, they usually never talk about it and never apply them. And if they do, they don't care about them. They just simply brush it off and move on. Move on. Say, what's next? Some of them even wrote in their books that that's annoying to them. That is a veil on the path for them. So they don't even need it. The problem with that is if you expect something to happen to you, a bolt of lightning, or anything of that nature on the path, very soon you'll be disappointed, because God does not work in that way. God works in invisible, silent ways, and usually He tests you. He tests for your intention, to see if your intention is to expect an answer from Him. And sometimes this is not a greedy expectation, this is a very sincere expectation. When you're dying to hear something from God, just to warm your heart, to know you're on the right track, and you beg God for a sign, most of the time there is absolute silence from God. Most of the time we fool ourselves into, we are so thirsty for a sign that no matter what we see, like to other people it's just the sky, but to us we're squeezing our eye to see that star that twinkles just for us. And that's a huge test, and that is a huge obstacle on the path that we need to conquer. That the religious people put people in three groups. The worshipping of the pious ones, when they lock themselves in the door and they just pray day and night. The worship of the merchants, of the businessmen, which enter into a business with God. They say, I do this now, you compensate on the day of judgment. And then there is the worshipping of the lovers and the mystics, who worship God for the sake of worshiping God, and they are thankful that they have come to this realization that worshiping God is not a means to bring them to heaven, to the fruit and the beautiful ladies, or whatever heaven is in any religion or any ideology. Worship itself is a blessing, and worship by itself is a destination. There is a huge difference that when we go fishing in the ocean of God, and when we throw the fishing rod into that ocean, what are we hoping to catch? Are we hoping to catch the reunion with Him? Are we hoping to catch love, pure love? Are we hoping to catch a dream, a revelation, a heaven, extra points? What are we hoping to catch? There's a story about a mystic which was talking to God, and God asked him, ask me anything you want. And he said, I want to be free of desire. I want not to want. That was his exact answer. I want not to want anymore. Free me of desire. And the mystics that came after him answered to him and said, even that desire of not wanting anything had a desire, a hidden desire in it. You wanted not to want. Human nature is impossible to be free of desire. By nature, we will always want something. God is the one free of desire. God is the one who gives. We are the ones who beg. But there is a huge difference between the one who is fishing with the hope of love, with the hope of reunion, and the one who's fishing for fame, reputation, admiration, and revelations and dreams and supernatural acts. Because whatever we catch out of that sea would be our spiritual food. The more nutritious, the more valuable, the bigger and greater that fish is. Whether we catch the whale of love or a tiny fish of mystic experiences like that, there is a huge difference, because that would feed our soul, and our soul will grow as much as our food, spiritual food. Rumi says, you are that which you desire. Whatever you seek, you are that what you seek. If you are seeking bread, you are bread. If you are seeking the soul of our souls, the essence of all essences, you are that. Whatever you seek, you are that. So be careful what you wish for, not because it can happen to you, but because it can deprive you for much, much, much more, from so many greater things that you could not even think of. Whatever you achieve on this path, always ask yourself and ask God, is there more? And because God is never ending, His bounties and His blessings are never ending as well.